think some people might say that it is important to publish during your PhD, but I think it's only important to publish if you've got something worth saying and you've got something new to add to the conversation. And you have to be really confident in what you're putting out there. In the first 6 months of my PhD, I submitted to a journal, and I submitted a paper that when my supervisors looked at it, they said, you shouldn't be putting this out there. And that really knocked my confidence. And so I think actually rushing to publish can almost have a worse effect than not publishing at all. Rather than rushing to publish, I think the things that have helped me is doing more presentations at conferences, or also not just at research conferences, but going to speak to people external out of the university to whom your research might be relevant.
So I don't think it's important to publish during the PhD, and here's why. So to me personally, the journey of doing a PhD, the aim of the PhD is to complete a PhD, not to publish. I would definitely advise people that if there is an opportunity to publish, to really think about it, because it's great. As we know, if you start looking at employment past the PhD, a lot of employers will ask about publications. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to publish, I don't think personally. But the aim of the PhD shouldn't be to publish. The aim of the PhD should be to close the gap in research, to enable people to live a better life, to improve quality of life, to add to the pool of research and knowledge, not to publish. I think we can always publish once we finish that PhD, but I personally think that publishing as part of the main aim shouldn't be to publish.
It may be important to do it as you go along while it's still fresh in your mind. So you've written a chapter, perhaps your systematic review, for example. It's still fresh in your mind. You've turned it into a paper, and it gets accepted for publication, and that's great. So you publish as you go along. Is it important? I don't actually know. I'm sure publication is important, and the more you publish, maybe the better it will reflect on you. But I'm sure it would just be as important if you had written the thesis, and then once that was out of the way, you then transformed your chapters into journals, articles, and got them published that way. I suppose that would be equally as important.
It can be useful to publish during your PhD, but I don't think it's really that important. Your mental health is much more important, and finishing your PhD is more important than getting a few publications out. Although if you are looking for...
Right, the importance of publishing while doing your PhD, yes, I do believe it's important to publish during your PhD. But as I said before, it's about prioritising. I think the priority is completing your PhD and getting your doctorate. If you can publish along that way, that's brilliant. But I would say publishing and then not achieving your PhD would be a disaster.